What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cousin. I'm here with Dustin Zimmerman, and we're going to be doing the SEC this week. A lot of fun stuff. Obviously, the SEC is the biggest one. Saved it for last, and we've done the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, all the premier conferences, Power Four conferences, and we're going to do the Power Five next week, non-Power Four teams. So let's get into it, though. Dustin, tell me about this great Mississippi State team.
So Mississippi State, we are in agreement, is going to be the worst team, or at least tied for the worst team in the SEC this year. They're not returning a whole lot. Their QB room sucks. One of the main people in it is Blake Shapen, who has been in college forever now and hasn't really improved at all. And their backup or potential other starters, Luke Kromenhoek, which I know you've talked so highly of in his time at Florida State.
Sure.
The hard part with this is they're a true rebuild team. Like, you don't typically see rebuilds, quote unquote, in the nature we talk about them in the pros, where a team loses all their star players or loses a big piece and starts over, goes through the lottery, blah, 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 tanking, if you will. You don't do that in college because you have recruiting. You don't have to. But when you lose your coach and your entire culture, you have to. That's just what happens.
Sure.
Because now you have no standard of recruiting. You have no guidance. Nobody knows what's happening, especially with last year. They didn't improve much or, do much with it. And they're just in a really hard spot as a program. And it's going to be a while for them to really step it back up unless one of these recruits they are able to manage to get can light it up or become a phenom there over in Starkville.
Well, the problem is, and this is kind of the point of like why Mississippi State's going to continue to be bad until they get a true class like you're talking about, is that people just leave nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
If you don't start them, a lot of players, if they think they're good enough to start somewhere else, they'll just leave.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. I mean, that's what happened with Mississippi State. Their best player or their quarterback, their young quarterback, who would have been their best player in coming years, in Michael Van Buren, transfers to LSU. He's not even going to play this year.
I still don't get that decision.
Well, sure, but he's going to the LSU for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then you have guys like Kevin Coleman and Mario Craver. They're gone, So
yeah,
that's the big part of the problem is like these types of Mississippi State lower level SEC schools are going to rotate like every few years. They're going to be good for a couple of years, and then they're going to go back down because recruiting has become money, transfers, a completely different world.
Yeah.
They do have a couple really good running backs in Davon Booth and Fluff
Bothwell.
Fluff. Yeah, I know. Transferring from South Alabama, 111 rushing attempts last year, 832 yards and 13 touchdowns. But they just don't have any offensive talent. Mm-hmm. And their defense was 126 last year. Their offense was 78th, but like it doesn't matter if they can't stop anybody in the SEC. They're just going to get run over.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with this team when I'm like, hey, like, how do you actually get better? It's like you have to probably pay a lot of money. Be a Texas Tech type of, put some money out there. That's how you're going to get better if you're this team.
Yeah, they're going to need Dak Prescott to make quite the endowment back to the athletic program.
Sure. Yeah. I'll go on though. Not worth continuing beating them up. Kentucky up next is an interesting one because they have actually kind of lost a lot of their players. They did add some players also, but their transfer portal rank actually looks good. It's 14th out of overall, 5th in the SEC. But it's just kind of a team that's like, hey, you got a bunch of players, but you also lost some of like your best players at age. Mm-hmm. They lost Dane Key. He went to Nebraska. Barian Brown, he went to LSU. These guys had over 1,000 yards together last year. They've been starters since their rookie or their freshman years. It's also, they have a really tough SEC schedule overall. They're playing only tier 1 and tier 2 teams. So it's like, it's really hard to find games that they could win except for maybe like Vanderbilt. But we did see a resurgence from Vanderbilt last year, similar to what we were just talking about with, these teams that are going to go up and down. Vandy's one of those teams. And Vandy had a good year last year at 7-5. So I can't give them that win either. So 8-0, 0-8, just like Mississippi State for us. And we just see this team as a true rebuild because Kentucky's been good for, often in the last few years. Now they just have to kind of come back to that.
They've been better. They've also had
True.
incredibly good players like Benny Snell and Wandale Robinson over there. But with the transfer portal now being what it is, those guys like Dane Key and Barry and Brown have left. They're no
Right.
longer staying and being able to do that. I think this is Mark Stoops' last year at Kentucky also. A lot of people on the inside and reporters when A&M was going through their coaching search last year, it was essentially reported that Mark Stoops was being hired for the A&M job.
Hmm.
And the boosters and crowd threw such a fit that basically at like 1 a.m. they reversed it and were like, nope, nope, that was a fake report. None of that happened. But everyone on the inside knew. It was one of those open secrets. Like, yeah, Oko was definitely the first choice. It was never Mark Stoops. So I think they're both kind of on the split, and I think he lost a lot of trust in the program.
Sure.
And then now with the transfer portal, people don't have a reason to stay either. He's not exactly enticing people to stay. Zach Calzada is really fun because he's definitely probably going to win a game. I know we both have him going 0-8 in the conference, but he's going to win a stupid game he shouldn't win because that's what Zach Calzada does. And then he's going to absolutely blow the rest of the season because that's what Zach Calzada does.
Sure.
Super, super cool guy. Great dude in one game a year. But outside of that, that's why I have zero confidence in him.
Yeah, I get it. They had a good defense last year. They did lose a bunch of their players though, so
Mm-hmm.
including Maxwell Hairston, who went to the Buffalo Bills in the first round.
Yep.
It's just there's not a lot of bright spots, and then also losing your main offensive like production to the transfer portal. It's like there's a lot of things that are going against this Kentucky team, and
Yeah.
I actually think that A&M made the better decision. Elko, I really like Elko, so um, we'll see if
Oh,
he can continue.
100%.
If he
I
can
was
continue that.
I may not have been the silent portion of the community when the Stoops thing came out. So,
Fair. Um, but that's why we have a podcast because we want to talk about those types of things, right?
exactly. This is
Um,
where you find the insider info.
yeah, right. Well, especially for A&M because you've always got it. Um,
Yeah, I'll have those tidbits. That's about it.
yeah, yeah. Going over though, Vanderbilt. Tell me about him.
Well, last year we had Riley Leonard as my gamer of the year. I think this year it's got to be Diego Pavia. That's just what
Understand.
he does. Without Diego Pavia, this team's 4-8 and 0-8 in the conference. Like we just talked about Kentucky, I think I'm 100% certain without checking that's definitely the team you have Vandy beating
Yeah,
here
it is.
as your one conference win. Diego Pavia is going to make sure they win that game. That's what it's going to come down to. My opinion on them is last year was super fun and we all really enjoyed it and we talked about it a lot and we all hoped that it would continue on, but it was a fluke. That's not going to be the new norm. Vanderbilt's still Vanderbilt. They may have the Mackey Award winner on the team. That's the best tight end, in Eli Stowers, who is a former QB4 at A&M also, but couldn't touch the field and is apparently really athletic, and as we've seen. But their conference schedule also sucks. They're going to play at South Carolina, at Bama versus LSU and Missouri, which I don't think them being host to either of those teams matters. They'll be on the road at Texas and Tennessee. I think maybe if they were hosting Tennessee, you at least get the rivalry aspect, and there's a chance they could pull off that win. But being on the road in Rocky Top, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, the problem is we can basically make a case that they have two really good players.
Yeah.
After that, like, and I'm not saying, and Diego Pavia is not even like a really good player, like he's going to go to the pros and be something special. He's more of
Right.
like I'm a good college quarterback.
I was about to say, let's
Eli,
calm down with really good.
right? You know what I mean, though. Like Eli
Yeah.
Stowers will be an NFL player.
Yep.
He's out of Dallas area.
Mm-hmm.
Watched him play in the state championship a few years back, but it's like you said, they play all these tough games, and like which games do we actually think they can win other than Kentucky? And that's the
Right.
game we both gave them. It's just really tough to find games that they can win on their schedule within the SEC. They
Yeah.
didn't do a bad job in transfer portal though. 28th overall in the transfer portal. It's just I just don't think they have enough talent to replicate what they did last year. They would need the same sort of like because like truly last year they were probably a 5-7, 4-8 team that just caught some really good breaks and then had some magic happen.
And
Can they
Diego Pavia.
replicate? Yeah, well, exactly. But can they replicate that? Can he
Right.
replicate that? Like,
Yeah.
truly, I don't know. And I'm just gonna side with the fact that they come back to earth.
Yeah.
5-7 makes sense for both of us, obviously, and they win all their non-conference games, and then they lose basically all their conference games. I mean, that's what the SEC is, right?
And they get Mark Stoops fired if he's
Sure.
still coaching by then.
Sure, absolutely. The next team is going to be the Arkansas Razorbacks, and this is actually a really fun team to talk about. Being all the way down to 13th, you might think they don't really have the talent, kind of like how the other teams we just talked about were. But actually, Arkansas is like the breaking point of like there's actual talent on this team. We're going to talk about a guy, Taylon Green. If you don't know him, he is one of the like sleeper picks to be a quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft. He's had a pretty good career, but he's a dual threat quarterback. He had 60.4% completion rate, 3,154 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But he also has 8 touchdowns on the ground for 602 yards. So that's a really big thing. They used the transfer portal to really recruit wide receiver, highlighted by guys like Courtney Crutchfield from Missouri and Omega Blake out of Charlotte. So they're trying. They're really looking to try to get this team going. It's just they run into a schedule of just a gauntlet type schedule, and we gave them 2 wins, but they play, mostly tier 1 and 2 teams out of the SEC. So they play Ole Miss, LSU, Texas, Tennessee, A&M, Auburn, Missouri. And then they play Notre Dame and Memphis out of conference. And like those are both really tough games. Notre Dame and Memphis are going to be on our next week's video, but I'll tell you right now, Notre Dame's probably going to get double-digit wins from both of us. So it's just a really tough schedule that really doesn't help them with like. Also, they have some guys they lost. Tough schedule. Not being in the SEC doesn't give you any good weeks to play. And Arkansas is just really not there talent-wise, but they do have a good quarterback, and that can always help them win random games, basically.
Yeah, so I was trying to remind myself on Sam Pittman, the Arkansas coach, because he had that really good year in 2021, where they went 9-4, and there were talks of, oh, is Sam Pittman this amazing coach? He's going to resurrect Arkansas to what it once was. And then the next year after that, they went 7-6, then 4-8, and then 7-6 last year. So he never really kept on that upward trajectory. And then now they have offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino, who is either an amazing or a train wreck, depending on how many scandals he's in that year. So, I mean, I love Taylon Green, super fun quarterback to watch. They did lose Jaquindon Jackson, who was their RB1 last year. They have Braylon Russell, who's a really good young running back. But they have an entirely new receiving core also. Andrew Armstrong was their big one last year, and he's gone to Miami. And then, like you said, the schedule is crazy. Their rivalry with A&M is moving out of Jerry World this year. It's going to go to a home and home now, and they do host A&M. So that's a game where they could get a sneaky win just being in a rivalry environment and being at home for that one. So big one to watch there for. But overall, I see them, obviously we have the same record for them, so we see them underperforming. Well, I guess kind of meeting expectations of the betting odds, but underperforming from what the trajectory is once thought to be.
Right. I have them beating Mississippi State, we already talked about, and Auburn, and then I think you had them beating
Auburn and Mississippi State.
Sure. See, yeah, we had that one pretty figured out. We don't talk about these things, so when we do match up and it's the exact same, that's always very funny to me. But yeah, so it's just a team that can't really get past their schedule, in my opinion.
Right.
If this was an ACC team, they might be 9-3. And that would, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
I don't want to be too much of the SEC homership and whatnot, but yeah.
I mean, they're good. That's
it is what it
problem.
is.
They are good. So
yeah.
But yeah, so the next team is going to be Oklahoma. Tell me about our favorite dark horse.
Boomer Sooner, led by John Mateer. Now, if you've been anywhere near Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, you've got two sides of this coin. You've got, oh my gosh, John Mateer is going to win the Heisman. And then you have a bunch of people who go, wow, John Mateer should never touch a Power 4 field again because of his performances last year, including to a 3-9 Wyoming, where he did not have the most stellar game. Now, if you watch training camp clips, seeing what he's done in videos this offseason, you're probably going to be more on the side of Heisman because the guy just looks incredible. He's layering throws. He can run. He looks like a confident leader. And then they got Jaden Ott now. Brent Venables is supposed to be able to run a defense. So assuming John Mateer can bring the high upside that you and I specifically are expecting from him, Jaden Ott can return to form that he was pre-injury and get out of the lows he had with California last year, and Venables can actually call a competent defense, they'll do well. The problem for me is I don't know that Venables can do that. I don't know if he can put it all together or if he should go back to a coordinator role. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it just seems like he might fit that better, focus on his thing instead of being the team leader. And I saw one thing recently from some Texas fans, actually, that basically said how they used to view Texas and Oklahoma in the national scheme, and then A&M being little brother has kind of flipped, where Oklahoma's riding in the back seat now, and A&M and Texas are getting the marketing and all the hype and all this. And obviously A&M's underperformed, so I took the compliment, but it was weird because we're still not anywhere near as good as Texas traditionally.
It's all about the money.
But well, yeah, we got that part. So, but all that to be said, I just don't trust Venables, and this is another guy I have on a hot seat because Oklahoma boosters aren't going to put up with 7 wins for much longer.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do believe that he's a better coordinator than a head coach. I don't think that he's not necessarily my favorite politician, if that makes sense. I don't think he speaks that well. And I think that that's really important when you're a head coach, is like, how do you speak to the team? How do you speak? Because you want to keep these guys around. You don't want them transferring out and stuff like that. But John Mateer did transfer in. He seems to like what's going on there. Like you said, Jaden Ott. And one of the guys on defense that I like is Marvin Jones Jr. He played for Florida State. He was our best pass rusher. I don't care what anybody says about Patrick Payton last season.
I agree.
Biggest thing for me is they just have to get healthy. Like, that was the biggest issue last year.
Yeah.
They just need to stay healthy. And they're 7-5, and we'll talk about why, but they have good players. R. Mason Thomas, who I'm down on as a draft prospect overall, but like, he's a great college football player. Jaden Ott, who's coming in, we'll see if he can revamp his career, but they have good players. Now, my big thing is they have the 3rd ranked strength of schedule. And so it really puts them in the, back burner of this whole thing, because we were talking about them being like a possible dark horse type of team. And then we saw the schedule and it's like, oh, well, 7-5, which sucks, because we see this team as pretty talented. They're playing Auburn at home, Texas at home. They're going on the road to South Carolina, Mississippi at home, at Tennessee, at Bama, Missouri at home, and LSU at home. All conference games are upper tier teams. We haven't talked about any of those teams yet. So with that being said, they still won 3 of those games, but we can't put them high. Obviously, they're ranked lower because they lost a lot of those games also.
Yeah.
So I just think, I personally believe the schedule is too hard, and that's my biggest problem with this team, because they were 19th on defense last year. Venable actually had a pretty solid defense overall, and they're trying with the offense. They're getting rid of Jackson Arnold and bringing in a guy that can basically run an offense like in a different way, right? Because John Mateer had 15 rushing touchdowns last year. You're not going to get that out of Jackson Arnold,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are going in the right direction for Oklahoma, but like you said, 7 wins isn't going to be enough. They might fire Venable. And not just that, it's like, if they get to 8 wins, I'd be really surprised, because they are going to play so many good teams. I don't know if they can find 4 wins out of all those games I just talked about.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will add on, and to cap this off, is they did get a new offensive coordinator, and I believe he's the one he was the quarterback's coach coming from Washington State with John Mateer. So, if you want to talk about upside or optimism for the offense, that's where it's going to come from. Now, the other side of that coin is, how much does Venables let the reins go and say, here's the offense, go do what you will with it? Or will he have the issue of, I still want to control this, but you just help with development or whatever?
Normally, when you bring people in like this for this reason, and you're on the hot seat, you let them do their thing.
Yeah,
I mean, let them go.
I would hope that's what he would do.
Yeah,
for his sake.
He's never been a head coach long enough for me to know, if that makes sense.
That's my fear with him.
Yeah. Let's go over. I've got the Auburn Tigers. We just talked about Jackson Arnold and him transferring. I have Auburn going 7-5, but 4-4 in the conference. That's the only reason they're above the Oklahoma Sooners. But Jackson Arnold is a former 5-star, and he had a really down season last year, but he is now in. Of course, they were all injured. Nick Anderson was injured for Oklahoma. All these guys we just talked about, their O-line had injuries. He's getting a much improved wide receiver core. Cam Coleman is going to be one of the top true sophomore wide receivers. He's top 5 true sophomore wide receivers because that freaking group is crazy with Jeremiah Smith and all the guys that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And then Eric Singleton Jr. transferring in from one of our favorite ACC teams in Georgia Tech. He's just going to be another guy that is legit. Could be a first rounder. And one of the biggest guys that we're not talking about enough is the transfer left tackle Xavier Chaplin out of Virginia Tech. He is legit. He's a legit football player. He's top 5 on some boards for the offensive tackle spot. For the class coming up, I did not get to him in our original watch. I did watch him. He's really good. So they're solid. They're solid everywhere, basically. It's just can we get coaching staff and Jackson Arnold to play to the talent that this team has? And I don't know yet. And that's why we have them at 7-5. I think that their schedule is probably pretty, basically they're in a bunch of close games this year is what I see. And can they pull it out in 1-score games or can they not? And so we're right in the middle on that.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold, I think, will have a chance to show what he can really do. Ideally, everyone stays healthy, because that was his issue last year. Wasn't talent; it was everyone got injured. All the talent they had was gone for him to utilize. Now he's got obviously Cam Coleman and someone else we're really high on, Eric Singleton Jr., who has been absolutely balling out in fall camp as well. They have an incredibly good 1-2 punch there, in both deep routes, short, middle routes, with everything Singleton can do as a gadget.
Right.
But my biggest issue with them, as I've talked about this before, is Hugh Freeze. I just don't trust him as a coach. He's a really good recruiter, good at getting guys there. But it just seems like after that, something falls off, something happens. There's some big issue, whether it's a scheme thing or the players, the relationship with the players. I don't know, because I'm not inside the locker room, obviously. But they have all the talent this year to make a push past where we have them, but we both have them sitting at 7-5, which kind of just shows the overall sentiment on the team, even with all that talent.
I just want to see it. I think it's fair to be like, hey, you haven't done it. Let's see it before we put you higher than this. Because it's not like they deserve to be higher than this. They haven't had a reason. They've had good players. It's not like they didn't have Jarquez Hunter last year,
right?
Who was killing it. They have Connor Liu, who's their center, who's really, really good. Will be a prospect. Keldrick Falk, guys, first.
Yeah,
Keldrick Falk is my guy, man. I'm not gonna give a long spiel. Go watch our Edge video, but that is my guy, and he could be Edge 1 to me. That's how much I like him. So there's just guys. They have guys. We just need to see them put it together. We haven't seen it yet, so I'm not going to put them higher than this. And like you said, I can't be confident in Hugh Freeze either. So it's just one of those things where I just want to wait and see. And hopefully they can figure it out and they can do it. And we're very happy to be wrong about Auburn.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're up. We'll talk about some Tigers.
Yeah, next is Missouri, which they have a wide range of expectations this year, from some people thinking they should be a playoff team to some people thinking they're going to go back to the Missouri of old, winning 3 games. You and I are kind of right in the middle, as far as going 7-5, 8-4, right around their expected win total. They did bring in Ahmad Hardy and Bo Prabula, Bo being the Penn State backup last year, and then Ahmad Hardy. We both expect to be an absolutely fantastic addition at running back. If you haven't seen highlight tapes of him, you should definitely go watch them, because he is insanely quick and fast and will juke out pretty much anyone. So really fun guy to watch there. And then they also brought in the guy we talked about earlier, Kevin Coleman, the wide receiver from Mississippi State. Big issue, or not issue, but question mark, is going to be their quarterback, because Bo hasn't gotten a whole lot of time to play, hasn't gotten a ton of snaps at the actual on-field college level outside of practice. And then they lose 2 big targets in Theo Weiss and Luther Burden, who we talked about a lot. But what is saving them otherwise is their schedule. Their hardest games are going to be hosting South Carolina and Bama, and then they'll be playing A&M and Oklahoma also. And they don't play any of the Georgias or Texas of the conference.
Yeah. Like you said, I think that Ahmad Hardy is the best running back in this conference right
Sure.
now, which he's a true sophomore, so he won't be eligible to come out, which is good for them because that means he's coming back. Or
Right.
hopefully transfer
Well,
portal,
hold on.
yeah, right. They did also add Damon Wilson out of Georgia to
Mm.
their edge group, and he was a 5-star or high level 4-star a couple years back that came out. He didn't get to play at Georgia yet because Georgia just has so many players, but he left and came to Missouri. They did a good job in the transfer portal at attacking, talent at positions they need to get better at.
Mm-hmm.
And so we like to see that, including quarterback, like you said. Brady Cook is gone, adding Bo Perbula. He's been limited, like you said, and he was the backup to Drew Aller, who's one of the best
Yep.
in the nation right now. But giving him an opportunity to start somewhere is going to be awesome. It's basically, it's a winnable schedule, and it'll come down to if the additions to this team can do it.
Yep.
Perbola, Hardy, Coleman, all three of those guys are basically the offense.
Yep.
Adding, when you think about it, on top of some of the other guys, I guess a good O-line. So it's not like this team is good, and they're 8-4 for me because, like you said, they're a middle of the road conference schedule. I had them losing to all the teams you said. I didn't give them a loss to one of the lower teams. So I think that, when it comes to Missouri, we're looking at a team that kind of has the writing on the wall. If they can steal one of these games and go 9-3, maybe we're talking about them as a top 15 team. Maybe they're sneaking into the playoffs. It's all there for them. Now we just have to see how good these guys are coming up from the FCS level, coming up from bad teams, or being a backup. Let's see how good these players are. And if they can put it together, obviously Missouri will be higher on this list. But I think that technically the under is the favorite bet right now at 7.5. So
Yeah, I would take the under. I'm surprised. The only difference it looks like that we have on them is you have them actually beating South Carolina because they'll be hosting them.
yeah,
I have them losing to South Carolina.
fair. And both are perfectly fine. I don't think either
Yeah.
way. I think South Carolina is the better team, but we have lots of losses that happen in the SEC, in any conference, that are
Oh yeah.
just like middle of the year. You go into a place, it's hostile environment, and you get beat. So
Yep.
I gave a couple of those games trying to be as realistic as possible, and also on teams that I think will either overperform or underperform. So that's why I gave that loss there.
No, that makes sense.
And then Tennessee, the Tennessee Volunteers. I hate that they're this high. Funny enough, and they're 8-5, 8.5 win total. We have
Yeah.
them at 8-4. They're kind of middle of the road in everything they do. Their best option was to keep Nico. Like it's not like I'm mad, and Nico didn't go and lose a bunch of money, and they didn't do a good job getting Joey Aguilar in. But it's like their best way to win was with Nico because he was going to get better. He's a legit prospect.
Yep.
Of course, Nico at the same time was a pain in the ass. So it's a whole thing, all the way around. But it is a step down from Nico with Joey Aguilar. He comes from App State. He had 55.9% completion rate, 3,003 yards, 23 and 14 touchdown interception ratio. He was originally going to UCLA. Nico said, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to UCLA," and he was like, "Well, then I'll take your job."
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to see. They did lose though a ton that come from last year, and that's a big thing to me because your best player was Dylan Sampson. He was the offensive player of the year in the SEC. Stud. You lose Squirrel White, Brew McCoy, Dante Thornton Jr., and they only have one offensive lineman back this year. So I think that all of that, plus a new quarterback, is going to take time. I wish I could have said, "Hey, you got that," like put this team lower, which is sad because I like seeing teams like this, do well.
Yeah.
But defensively, they do have some highlights. Joshua Josephs was our dark horse, which is awesome. And then Jermod McCoy, if he does play, is a top 10 player in this draft class. I really love him, but he has an injury. So we'll see if he actually gets on the field. But they did lose some players too. Omar Norman Lott, James Pierce Jr. Like there's a lot of stuff that happened to Tennessee in the talent leaving. And I don't think they replaced it like we're acting like they did to have an 8.5 win total and be a team that's like possibly going to make the playoffs and things like that. I think that this team is way worse than they were last year at least.
Yeah, I mean, you hit that pretty comprehensively and hit the nail on the head. Losing Nico, as weird and feels strange to say it, but is a huge hit for them. Maybe in the locker room it's better, but talent wise, he is by far would have been the better option over Joey. And then, like you said, their highlights on defense. One of the big ones, Jermod McCoy, coming off a severe injury. So, and then he's supposed to go really high in the
tear, I believe.
I believe it was ACL.
ACL.
I'll make sure, but
I can't remember what I'm talking
but
yeah.
But that being said, ACL. We would expect him to return and hopefully, get his draft stock back up because he's a top 10 draft pick when healthy. So hopefully he can do that just for his sake, if nothing else. But I also don't think him returning is necessarily going to flip this team from an 8-win team to a 10-win team, regardless. So it's going to be really hard, like you said, to replace the production that they're losing from last year.
But I was going to say their schedule isn't that difficult, which is why they do still win 8 games. Only higher tier teams are Georgia at home, at Bama, Oklahoma at home, and then at Florida. So Oklahoma is in that top 4 of their hard games. I still think they're going to lose, 4 games. I think they'll find a way to lose to somebody not as good as them, or they'll lose to Oklahoma and these other 3 teams. But it's just one of those things where you can't give them more than 4 losses, even knowing the team is not as talented as some of the teams we've already talked about.
Yeah.
And then let's go. That's all you.
Yeah, Ole Miss. So my favorite love to hate coach in the country, Lane Kiffin. Love him, hate him, doesn't matter. Lane Kiffin is Lane Kiffin, and he will proudly say it. I'm a little bit higher on Ole Miss than Emory is. But by 1 win, not a huge difference, and we're both right around that win total of 8.5. They are returning a lot of their overall production based on just holistically offense and defense. Lane Kiffin can run his scheme with basically anybody. Guy's an absolute X's and O's master. Whether that scheme is perfect, that's up for debate. In college, it works very well when he has the right guys to do it. And then Austin Simmons is going to be their new quarterback. He's taken over for Jackson Dart, who went to the Giants. He is going to be very good one day. I don't know if it's this year, though. I almost see it being like a DJ Lagway did last season, save for the injuries. But kind of start off a little slow, and then as he picks up confidence, we'll see what he can become in the future. Now, I don't think he necessarily has the same ceiling or will reach what DJ Lagway has kind of produced for his expectations for this year, but I do see him kind of following that sort of trajectory or that motion of the arc, if you will. But they are going to completely replace their offensive line, and then they also have to play LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Florida. So they do not have the easiest schedule, and that doesn't even include the teams that we're both kind of iffy on, like Arkansas. So their schedule is not, they don't have to play Texas, for instance, or Bama, but that does not mean just the SEC. Anything basically outside of the bottom 3 to 4 teams is an absolute gauntlet, which is why we end up here with, like I said, me at 9-3, you at 8-4.
Yeah, I don't know who the difference is between us.
I'll find it real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. I will say, though, Austin Simmons is going to be a guy that you have to know the name of. You're talking about him, and I think he's going to be legit, especially in that offense, because we love Lane Kiffin for the fact that he makes his offense so easy for his quarterback. Anybody can basically play it. Well, then you add a guy with a lot of arm talent like Austin Simmons, and they're just that much better. They have legit wide receiver upside, in my personal opinion. Not as good, obviously, as last year, but they still have really good wide receivers. They added in the transfer portal Dejon Stribling out of Oklahoma State. He had 52 catches, 82 yards, and 6 touchdowns. This should give him a big boost, and he's an interesting name to look out for. But I just think the reason I have them going 8-4 is because I just don't think without a quarterback like Jackson Dart or a bunch of difference makers all the way around the field, just like a Trey Harris, or the defensive line they're missing, because that's okay. They did bring in Prince Umanmielen, who is the brother of Prince Umanmielen, who went to the draft last year and is going to go play. I don't remember where we went, but off the top of my head right now, but he was really good. Jaden Ivey was really good.
Hmm.
JJ Pegues was really good. Pegues was really good.
Walter
They just
Nolan.
had Walter Nolan, thank you. Top 10 player in the class last year. All of those guys were just really good at football, and really they're not going to return that level of talent on the defensive
No.
line. They did go out and get Princewell. They also have Centurine Perkins on the other side, but it's not the same level of talent they're going to have on the defense. And then also losing your quarterback, who was a top 26 pick in the draft last year. Like, you're just losing a lot that I wish Trey Harris, like, you're just losing a bunch of talent, including, I think Caden Lee's gone also. I can't remember what's on my head. I did not write that in my notes. One of the receivers from last year that stepped up when Trey Harris went down, he's leaving.
No, Caden Lee will be there.
There's another one that did leave. The other one. There were two really good ones that were behind Trey Harris.
Yeah.
And
I
Antoine
can't remember his name now.
Wells. But yeah, so
yeah,
they are losing some players. And that's my biggest confidence, like, bringing me down to 8-4. But truly, this is still one of the better teams overall. And the 8.5 win total shows that. I think they're way better than a Tennessee, like we just talked about, but they don't have the schedule. So it's one of those things where I think they're really good. I think that they're going to be a top 25 team possibly at the end of the year, and make some noise against these better teams. But I just don't know if they can play with the upper echelon of this of the SEC.
Yeah. Now, that being said, if Austin Simmons excels or improves or develops like I think he will, then next season you should watch out for Ole Miss.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The next team is going to be a shocker, and I love shockers. LSU. Dustin has them at 9-3. I have them 8-4. We kind of actually felt pretty similarly. Everybody wants to put LSU really high. I'm not there. They're replacing a lot of people. Offensive line wise, they're replacing like all of their offensive line. Everybody on their offensive line got drafted last year. Legit players. Will Campbell, Emory Jones Jr., like legit players. And then don't forget about the interior, Dellinger and all the guys. So what they did well is they went to the transfer portal and said, hey, we're going to be first in the SEC and second overall, only behind Texas Tech. They added guys like Patrick Payton out of Florida State, and then they went to the other Florida school and got Jack Pyburn, who's a really good edge for the Gators last year. Two legit safeties, AJ Halsey out of Houston, and then Tamarcus Cooley out of NC State. Cooley's going to play their nickel. And then they added Mansour Delane, who was a guy that we thought was going to be a prospect last year. Look, you can add all these guys, but if you don't have the offensive line, I'm not excited about it. They have Caden Duran, he's good prospect. Garrett Nussmeier, Nick Anderson, Barian Brown. It's restarting this whole team, but I just have some things that make me uncomfortable, and that starts with the schedule. They're going to play Florida at home, South Carolina at home, and A&M at home. Those are really tough games, and then they're going to go to Ole Miss, they're going to go to Bama, and they're going to go to OU. I think it's really hard to say that they don't lose 2 of these games minimum.
Yeah.
So that already puts them at your record at 6-2. And then I actually have them losing another one, and they have to play Clemson in the non-conference game. This is a really good team that will probably have a schedule that makes them underperform based on like their actual wins. But at the same time, it's a really good team. Talent is everywhere. I just don't think that they can put it all together against all these teams every single week. And then you can tell me about one of your favorite coaches in Brian Kelly.
Oh boy, Brian Kelly. All right. So as far as the schedule goes, I think they come out and start off with the loss. And I think they might get smacked by Clemson. I would not be surprised if that's a 2-score game. Instead of being, a tight one possession comes down to a game-winning field goal, that kind of thing.
Happened to USC
I think
last
Clemson.
Year, remember?
Say that again?
It happened against USC last year, remember?
Right, exactly. Brian Kelly has a history of really poor first games of the season. And in a situation like that, where this team is coming in with all this hype, talks about Nuss being the number one overall QB and them making the playoff, potentially national championship aspirations and all that, I think coming out and getting smacked by Clemson in the first game of the year is going to really affect the team morale. I'm also just not as high on Nuss as a lot of other people are. I think he's got a lot of arm talent and he's a talented guy. I think his composure is just not there, though. And I've talked about that before. I've seen him break down multiple times. He takes one sack or one bad play, and the next 2 or 3 possessions, he doesn't bounce back. It takes him a while to kind of get out of the funk of what that puts him in. And for that, you know, a team like that where you're trying to make the playoff, you've got all these aspirations and stuff. That pressure only makes that situation worse. So I just can't trust him to lead me to anything more than 9 wins. And that includes, for me at least, and I think you and I are almost the same, but a win over Florida, which is definitely a 50-50 game.
It's a
And
tough
actually,
game.
yeah, you have them losing to Florida, which I, again, totally respect. I'm extremely 50-50 on that one. I have them beating South Carolina. That's not an easy one. I have them beating A&M. Not going to be an easy one. Shoot, even Arkansas, or depending on how the year goes, Oklahoma, if their offense does put it together, that could be an absolute shootout to end the year. And Brian Kelly is just an absolute monster. I refuse to be confident in anything Brian Kelly can put out on the field. Notre Dame was worse when he was there. They get immediately better after he leaves. Also, Marcus Freeman's really good. LSU has made less bowl games since Les Miles and Ogeron were there, or at least less major bowl games, sorry, and has had less success. And they can't win their first game of the year. So I just can't put confidence in Brian Kelly nor Nussmeier for that reason.
Yeah, I have them losing to Florida, Mississippi, and Alabama.
Yeah.
Those are the. But did I
And
name a
Clemson.
name? Did I? In Clemson, of course.
Yeah.
But did I name a team that you couldn't see them losing to? Like, I think that all 3 of those teams are difficult.
No. I mean, shoot, I was going through
South Carolina, Texas A&M, OU. You know, like I had them beating good teams also. So Arkansas, which we don't really know about. But so it's not like I'm like just destroying this team. Like they're gonna have good wins. They're also gonna have losses that are probably close. And I think it's gonna be really hard to beat Florida in Florida. I think it's gonna be really hard to beat A&M at A&M this year.
No, it's in LSU.
Or sorry, at LSU. You're right.
Either way,
Florida
is
all at LSU. I apologize. Those are backwards. But I think like those are still hard games. South Carolina coming to the house. Like I don't know, man. There's gonna be. I think they lose 2 of those games, and then I think they lose to Clemson, and 9-3. Like is really hard for me to justify them getting into the playoffs. 9-3. I think
with how I have it set up, which is the same as you, except minus the Florida loss. I would also not have them in the playoff.
Now they're going to bring a lot of money, so they might put them in the playoff based on money because LSU has a lot of talent. They're going to be an exciting team that you want to watch. They're going to have 100%. A top 30 offense this year, no problem. But I think that the problem lies with the schedule overall. Next up is the Florida Gators.
Florida Gators, led by one of our favorite guys, DJ Lagway. So the Gators have come back into prominence because DJ Lagway is really good at football. The biggest thing that they're going to need this year is a healthy DJ Lagway. So they're not going to do the weird Graham Mertz plays the first drive and then DJ plays the second drive and then Graham Mertz plays the third drive and then DJ's going to score a touchdown on the fourth drive, but Graham Mertz gets to start the fifth anyways, which was hilarious and awesome last year in the first few games. Because Billy Napier is another coach I just do not trust. The SEC has a really weird trend right now of having a lot of coaches that do well in one place and then come over to the SEC and do really weird things. So, like Billy Napier. So, but you and I are both also much higher on this team than the betting odds have them at, being 6-5, and you and I agree on 9-3. Their issue is they have the hardest schedule, but I think they're going to be good enough to be able to handle that schedule with at least some level of success, assuming they stay healthy. Also, Trey Wilson, number 3, their wide receiver, is fantastic and extremely athletic. And if you haven't seen him play, you should watch at least one Florida game to watch him. And then I'm going to leave Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks for you because I know you're really high on them.
Well, I will start with them. Defense matters, of course. They did have some really good defensive players last year that just got older, basically.
Yeah.
Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks make it go because they are so good at stopping the run on their D line that they make you pass the ball, make you throw the ball, and they get after you. Caleb Banks is a guy that we put as our dark horse, and then watching other people and they're like, Caleb Banks is like DT #1. I'm like, yeah, okay, so I'm not alone thinking this, which is good. But big things on this team, and don't forget, Jake Slaughter is the #1 interior offensive lineman in this class. I don't care. Unless you are moving tackles down, that he is the #1 interior offensive lineman. So this is a team that I think has so much talent, and their games are going to be so close that it was really hard to predict. I have 2 losses in the SEC. I also have a loss to a non-conference team. Who was it? Let's see. I have Texas A&M and Georgia in the SEC, and then
Miami.
And then, they lose to Miami. Yeah, because they still have to play Miami in non-conference, which is ridiculous. They play LSU, Miami in back-to-back weeks. Then they go to UT, A&M. Then they finally get an easy game against Mississippi State. Georgia, this team has just got a gauntlet. But at the same time, I think, like you said, they're good enough to, win in those games. DJ Lagway makes it go. They've got and then Trey Wilson, like you said. I mean, Trey Wilson is going to be awesome. I'm glad he's coming back from his injury. They've got a pair of really good running backs in Jaden Baugh and Jacoby Jackson. I think the big thing that people don't realize about this team is that their offensive line is top 5 in the nation. Like, legitimately top 5 in the nation. And then their D-line is also one of the best in the nation. So you put those two things together. I love trenches. I think that's where you win football games, is in the trenches. They're going to get after it. This team has those guys. And then they have a young secondary, but a very talented athletic secondary. So I think Florida's legit. I just hate their schedule, and it really hurts that they have to play this schedule. But I think that they are the true dark horse to make the playoffs. If they put it together, they are the true dark horse to scare teams because they can beat any team on any week.
Yeah.
Any team on any week. This team is good enough to play with and beat by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's the type of talent this team has. They could beat Georgia by 2 touchdowns. Now, will they? Probably not. But they're talented enough to. So that's why I'm so high on Florida. That's why you're high on Florida, is just the talent is there. And we were low on LSU because they have talent, but they don't have the O-line. This team has that. This team has a top 5 O-line. That makes me super excited. They did it from within. They had the 16th ranked SEC transfer portal grade. They did it from within. They're good. They're going to return players. They're ready to run. I wish they had an easier schedule so that we could just say, hey, they're going to the playoffs. Watch out, they might win the SEC.
Yeah. This is probably my most confident over as far as win totals that I have in the entire country, or at least of the Power 4 teams. I'm I talked about my love for Kyron Drones and Virginia Tech and thinking they'll be over. This one, I was highly projecting that. I'm still obviously giving upside projection here, and assuming healthy status of everyone. But this is my most confident over. If I had to pick one,
I hope that this 6.5 win total is a direct comparison to the fact that we have an injury to the quarterback DJ Lagway. Because if it's not, the 6.5 is ridiculous to me.
I mean, this is updated as of, I want to say, today.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, they might have updated it to where DJ Lagway's injury has been changing this projection, because that would make sense to me, because he's that good.
Yeah, but even still, I thought he was already out of the boot. I don't think he's even in a boot anymore. I think that was just precautionary because it was the first week of camp.
Yeah, I don't know. So, I don't know why this is 6.5. It's really scary. It's a really ridiculous number. SMU is another team that I want the over for, Georgia Tech. But Florida is a team that I'm like, hey, 7 wins.
You don't have to convince me on a Georgia Tech upside.
Sure.
I'm ready.
Right. Let's go over South Carolina Gamecocks. So Lenore Stellars is good at football also. A lot of good quarterbacks in this conference, but Lenore Stellars is also very good at football. He makes it go, of course. 65.6% completion rate last year. He had 2,534 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but he also had 674 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns. Look, he's legit. But at the same time, they're returning, and the issue at the receiving talent is a problem. We all want to talk about Nick Harbor. Nick Harbor, this freak. He's a freak. He's a freak. He is a freak. I mean, he is insane. Talented on as a track runner. The biggest, fastest dude I've ever seen. Basically, he had 26 catches last year, though.
Yeah,
we're acting like he's going to be a first round talent. Talent wise, yes. Athletic wise, he is a first round. Sure. But he had 26 catches for 376 yards and 3 touchdowns. He is way too talented as a athlete to not improve that. So we're betting on that, but it hasn't happened yet. That's the really big problem with him. One of the best defensive lines in 2024, they're basically losing everybody. Kyle Kennard, TJ Sanders, Tonka Hemingway. They're returning Dylan Stewart, who is one of the best freshmen from last year, and Brian Thomas Jr., not the one at Jacksonville, who had totaled 11 sacks together. But there's still more players. Demetrius Knight's gone. Nick Manwari's gone. They need to replenish to be comfortable with these types of 9-3 records. Jalen Kilgore is our DB dark horse, so I'll shout him out because I get the DBs for sure. I get the defense for sure. But love that guy. He's going to play their nickel. He's going to play their safeties. Stud. But it's a lot of question marks at positions that you need to be talented, basically.
Yeah. So, and one other thing you haven't even mentioned yet is I've talked a lot about the coaches I dislike. Shane Beamer is a coach I love. The team seems to rally around him. He seems to elevate him. South Carolina went from a laughingstock to oh shoot, this team's kind of crazy. When we were talking about them last year, their defense was legit scary. Everybody, they look like a video game. It just hit sticking everyone. It's awesome. And then Lenore Sellers by himself is a video game. Nick Harbor on a video game is fantastic. We need to see it translate onto the field. But also on the other side of that coin, they're playing some hard games. They're going to be at Missouri, which is a rivalry, at least to those two teams. It's a rivalry. They're playing at LSU. They're going to host Oklahoma. They're hosting Bama. I don't think they beat Bama either way, though, personally, whether it was host or on the road. And then they'll be at Ole Miss and at A&M. So they did not look out in terms of which games are at home where they would need that help and could feasibly win those games versus which ones were on the road. And they could be able to win on the road too. I'm high on them on the over, but I will say it's going to be really tough. And also it's hard when people know Lenore Sellers now. It's not like you can come in and underestimate him anymore. We all know what Lenore Sellers is capable of, and every team's going to have a spy out there ready for him now.
Sure.
Or at least try to be ready for him. You can't just be ready.
Yeah. I believe you had them beating Clemson.
I will pull that up because
I think you did, and that's the last game of the year. It's a rivalry game. That is a tough.
I want to say I did. Yeah, I have them beating Clemson.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they don't only So one of your favorite teams in the ACC is Va-Tech. They're also playing Va-Tech in the first week of the year.
Yep.
They're playing Clemson at the end of the year, so not an easy out of conference schedule. They have a hard in conference schedule, like you said. I have them losing 2 games. You have them losing 3. I had them losing to Missouri, which we talked about, and then LSU at LSU.
Sure.
Which is a tough game. I mean, that's going on the road to LSU is not going to be easy in Death Valley.
Yeah.
So I think that this team is really good talent-wise. Just overall, everybody's, really talented. But there's just so many question marks on, can they get the football talent out there on the field? We talked about Nick Harbor. Well, they literally just breed talent like that, like freak athletes. Nick Manwari was there last year. He broke every record. He had a 9.99 RAS score at the combine, like relative athletic score at the combine, like legit to upside. Got another one in Nick Harbor. They breed that. But it doesn't matter if you can't get the most out of them.
Right.
So we're going to have to see if they can figure out how to get the most out of Dylan Stewart. He had 7 sacks, like really good player, going to be a sophomore. Jalen Kilgore, these guys on offense and defense that are just really good athletes that can hopefully elevate their team a little bit more, and they could go. They are a dark horse also. They're, Florida, we just talked about Florida. They're a dark horse to make the playoffs for sure. In South Carolina, they have the talent at quarterback that you need normally, and they have the coach that makes you really comfortable with the normal question marks you have at that spot.
Mm-hmm.
They have some players. We just need to see it all happen on the field. I have them at 6-2, tied for 3rd. You had them 5-3, tied for 6th. Tough schedule, but I like this team.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep. So A&M. Now, for anyone not or you for
Yeah, if
everyone,
it's your
where
first time, disclaimer.
yeah, I went to A&M, so huge A&M fan. Your typical A&M cult fan. I get it. Don't worry about it. It's true. I will happily admit it. But I was gonna say also, I saw this thing on Twitter today. Today is August 4th. We're filming this August 4th, and they called it Happy A&M Day because of the 8-4 stigma
Mm,
that we
hmm.
cannot break out of.
Which we both
A&M
put
goes
them
eight and
over
four a
that.
lot. So,
Yeah,
to,
we both put them
um,
over that.
which unfortunately their win totals 7.5 odds. So shocker. We can't escape it. But that's all besides the point. They are 15th on the SP Plus. They're returning a ton of their production. The entire running back room is returning, healthy too. Le'Veon Moss has made a full recovery from reports I've seen. Ruben Owens, who only played in like 3 snaps of the Texas game and then limited snaps in the bowl game. And he was supposed to be kind of 1A, 1B with Moss last year, but Moss had a great year. He's back. Mari Daniels is back. So literally the entire running back room. The wide receiver room is going to be upgraded. They did lose Noah Thomas to Georgia, who was the wide receiver one last year. But Terry Bussey, who was a 5-star recruit, is now a sophomore. They brought in Mario Craver from Mississippi State, Casey Concepcion, who has been making highlights for like 3 years now across the country. Most recently at NC State. So he's really exciting. I think the entire O line is returning as well,
Hmm.
led by Armaje Reed Adams and Trey Zune, who are both extremely talented and makes A&M, I think, what PFF has them at a top 10 or top 5 O
Yeah,
line
they're
unit.
top 10 O line for sure.
Yeah.
Great O line.
And then on defense, Cassius Howell at the edge, who's supposed to take over. Torian York, who, if you watch A&M or know A&M fans, we love Torian York. He's one of those high energy, not necessarily the biggest, your bruiser linebacker, but just an incredible leader, field general for your defense. And then they also have Will Lee, who was nicknamed the Blanket. Fun fact, they also got Julian Humphrey from Georgia, who was also nicknamed the Blanket. So
Perfect.
that's going to be interesting. Other fun fact about them, Scooby Williams, if you've heard of him, a lot of really cool names at A&M. Scooby Williams tore his meniscus in the first game of the year last year and played the entire season. This year, he is now healthy. So the defense should be back even better than last year. Their big downfall last year towards the end of the year was the defense. Started the year 8-1, and then their defense let them down. They lose to Auburn 41-43. A lot of the comments about A&M was, what's Marcel Reed going to do? Can he get better? Because he had a lot of downfalls last year. He was kind of similar to Nuss. If he got rattled bad and would not hit a throw. He has all the talent as far as athleticism. The only reason A&M beat LSU last year was because of the read option. Quite literally, it was just him running. Me and him actually watched the game together, and it was absolutely amazing that they couldn't stop one play, which A&M then spammed like a video game the whole rest of the way.
Yep.
I have them slightly higher than you at 10-2, but we are both higher on them than the win total odds would suggest.
Yeah. So I actually really like A&M. I really like the culture that's built at A&M. You normally get mad at me when I name all the players, so there we go. I guess I can get on you for this one.
I've been
But
running my
no,
A&M dynasty, so I have them all running through my head lately.
fair. Yeah, we love these players. I mean, there's so many good players on this team. The O line, like you said, is top 10, and I just think they're full of maulers.
Yeah,
Armaj Reed Adams is one of my favorite guys in this class. He's just absolutely gonna just bully you. So, yeah, there's a lot of talent on this team. Got to put it together, of course, but any
yeah,
team in the SEC has talent, and they need to put it together. I think this team is the most prepared to put it together, in my opinion. I think
sure.
the second year for a really good quarterback that has the ability to step up in Marcel Reed is something that I enjoy. Stacked running back room, like we talked about. All 3 of their running backs are legit and give them an opportunity. With Ruben Owens coming back from injury, I really like this team. I think that we're kind of. I think that the A&M hate is kind of ridiculous for the whole 8-4 thing because they do have a tough schedule. They do play Auburn at home, Florida at home, South Carolina at home, and then they have to go to LSU, go to Texas in the end of the year for that big game that finally came back a couple years ago. Look, not sure a 3-loss A&M makes the college football playoff, but I think that with that being said, this team is talented enough to make that push to make 10-2. I want A&M to be good. Like, I think that I like
Hey,
their
me too.
culture. Like I said, sure, fair. But as an outsider, just looking in, like, I want
Yeah.
A&M to be good. I think that they have the talent to be good. I think that they have been doing the right things, playing tough football, and I think it's their year. I think it's their year to be good, and I think they're a top 15 team, no matter what. But I just want to see. I want to see them, play well for a few games in a row, be 7-1 again, like they were last year, and then go into these tougher games, like South Carolina, at LSU. I have them beating. They play Notre Dame in non-conference. I think we both have them beating Notre Dame. Notre Dame
Yes.
is good too, so they could be 8-4 if I had them losing to them. So it's just one of those things where
There it is.
they have some hard teams, but at the same time, yeah, you could be 8-4. Uh, but
The
I think
prophecy fulfills.
right. I think at the same time, though, A&M is a very talented team that is ready to take a step forward. I like Elko. I think that he's done a great job since he's been there. I love that they play good defense. I love that they're running the ball. I think their offensive line is awesome. So all those things make me excited about football, and that's why I put A&M a little bit higher than maybe some other teams.
Sure.
Next up, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and Dustin has them tied for first, and at 10-2. Hold on a second. Please
Yeah, I was
fix.
about to
But
think I
he has
mistyped
the
a little bit
Alabama
there.
Crimson Tide a little bit ahead of me. And I have them also. I have them at 10-2, 6-2 in conference. They have a schedule where it's kind of set up where they play Georgia, they play at Missouri, they play Tennessee at home, at South Carolina, LSU, and OU at home. So they have a lot of games that they can win. Our Iron Bowl at Auburn's always interesting because
Yeah.
crazy things happen in those types of games. They have talent everywhere on this team. I'm going to shout out the defense. I'll let you do the offense because I think that's really fair. They have the
Sure.
best secondary in college football. And that includes teams that have better football players, but they have the most talent. Keon Sabb and Bray Hubbard is one of the best second safety duos. Damani Jackson's really good at corner. Cam Calhoun is transferring in. He's really good. He might not even start, though. This team is just really solid on defense. LT Overton's projected first round. Tim Keenan's a top 5 defensive lineman, in my personal opinion. Deontay Lawson might be a first rounder. This team has so much defensive talent, and I get excited about that. They were 21st on defense last year. They're going to get better. Returning all these guys. It's finally time for LT Overton to hopefully step up. He was a Texas A&M player, got transferred over to Alabama. It's his time to step up. Hopefully he doesn't continue doing the Shamar Stewart type stuff where he doesn't have any, he doesn't back up his talent. But I think this defensive unit is awesome. They've also got some stuff going on offense that I'll let Dustin get into. But I think they're good enough to make the college football playoffs. I think they're good enough to win the SEC, honestly, because I think they're that good. It's just, can Kalen DeBoer do it?
Yeah, I think their biggest question mark, the first thing on offense has to be, or the first thought people will have on offense is Ryan Williams, arguably the second best receiver in the country behind Jeremiah Smith. I know that's my opinion. I'm pretty sure you share a similar sentiment.
Yeah.
And then also on top of that, for their wide receivers, they're going to have Isaiah Horton from Miami, and then they've also got Jeremy Bernard. You already went through the offensive line, Caden Proctor, Cam Dewberry, also from A&M. They've got Parker Brailsford. The offensive line is stacked. You already pounded the defense. They are amazing. Jam Miller is coming back. He's been at Bama for 3 years. Last year, 145 carries, 668 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. And then the big question mark is who's going to lead them. That's probably going to be Ty Simpson. He's been at Bama, just waiting kind of in the shadows, waiting behind Jalen Milroe. He is looking like he could be a true leader for this team. Of course, I've only really seen, limited action in game, but his practice and camp film does make me very optimistic on him. A guy who can throw it really well, but can also run and has a good feel for when he needs to run. Of course, those are the clips being released that Bama's allowing to be released because that's how media and stuff works when you're talking about camps and whatnot. So, of course, they're going to make him look like he's really good. That's the point. I am high on them. I think we see Bama kind of resurrect to that almost unstoppable force that we'd had seen them at. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the continuation, but this year feels like everything's just kind of meeting in the right point. They're coming off an embarrassing, for their standard, loss to Michigan last year. And I think Kalen DeBoer, we saw him have success in Washington. I don't think that was fluky. I think we see him continue to have success, and now he has even more resources to do it, and he's able to put it together this year.
Yeah, I agree. I have them losing at Georgia and at South Carolina. I'm pretty sure you have them losing at Georgia.
No, mine's actually at South Carolina. I have them
Okay,
beating
so we both
Georgia.
have South Carolina and then beating Georgia. Got it.
The main reason for the Georgia one is Stockton, assuming he is the quarterback for Georgia. I think he's just still not going to be perfectly sharpened, and that's their crazy first SEC game of the year. Their first conference game of the year is Alabama and Georgia, which is an amazing matchup. But I think for that amazing Alabama defense you're talking about will just be more ready for that matchup
Sure.
than Georgia's offense will, and that's what will really pace it.
Okay, absolutely. We'll talk about that Georgia here in a second. But closing out Alabama, they have possibly the most talent at totality of positions than any team in the country.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that they could, make a really good run at the Natty this year, in my personal opinion. But you got Texas, your favorite team.
Okay, to point out that I stay as unbiased as possible, I have Texas beating A&M this year, hence how they ended up here with the same record. So I do my best not to. I mean, I could easily put 0-12, but here we are talking about 10-2 Texas. Texas is really good. I mean, that's what you need to get from this. They were really good last year. They were really good the year before. There's no reason they shouldn't be really good this year. The big question mark, Arch Manning, what's he going to do? Is he going to be the Arch Manning we all expect, or he's getting expectations for, of potentially Heisman hopeful? And if he does, absolutely amazing, this prodigy people are planning on him being, exiting for the draft even. I know most people, and you and I, think he'll wait a year, but that is one of those things that people are talking about. And then, their defense is still going to be amazing. Their running back room is insane, with Trey Wisner, CJ Baxter coming back from injury. They've got Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore. They added Jack Injuries from California to replace Gunnar Helm. They did a really good job just keeping that team next man up ready for the positions they needed to. Sure. And then Sark he's a good play caller. The guy can get his team ready. He's not my favorite person in the world, but as a coach, he gets the job done. You can't argue with the results he's producing over there. So I have no reason Texas shouldn't be 10-2 at the least, which is right about where their win total has them at.
Yeah, and I think you're actually probably still low on them overall.
Yep.
At 10-2. At the same time, there's some tough games in there. I'll go over the games. They're gonna play at Florida, which is the game I actually have them losing. I think that's a really tough game to go to Florida.
I also have them losing at Florida in the Swamp.
Florida, okay. I think that there's a couple rivalry games that are always hard between Texas A&M at the end of the year. It's at home, but then they also have to go to Dallas and play against Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. They play Georgia this year. I have them losing to Georgia. That's the other team I have them losing to. Or sorry, I have them beating Georgia.
I have them losing to Georgia.
You have them losing to Georgia. That's what I mean to say. I don't think they will come out undefeated. Like, I think that this is too difficult of a schedule in the way of it is what it is. It's the SEC. But I still think they will be the most talented team in just about every matchup they play.
Sure.
Just top to bottom talent. Their D-line is good. They have possibly the best edge rusher in the nation. If you want to just kind of, he's definitely the best true sophomore edge rusher in the nation, to say the least. But in Colin Simmons, maybe a top 5 to 10 to pass rusher overall. Use transfer portal to rebuild the interior defensive line too, which is awesome to see. Their secondary is ranked number 2, by PFF, I believe, with Michael Taff and Malik Muhammad. I just think this team is too talented to not go 10-2. I think they're really going to have a problem when they go to the playoffs, and they're going to have to play in the conference championship. They have to play some of the hardest games each week after when they start. Let's see, actually, I don't remember who plays them before A&M, but I think so Georgia, then Arkansas, then A&M.
Yeah.
And then they play possibly in the conference championship, and then they start the playoffs. It's like there's a gauntlet going on here, and so We'll see if they get a top 4 seed. That would be huge for them, getting a break. But it's a really tough schedule to end the year. And but at the same time, this is a really good football team. They might just be better and overcome all of that, and they could win the Natty. This is a team that is talented enough to win the Natty. We want to see if Coach Arch does, but I think he's good. I'm so happy that he sat behind Quinn for 2 years and got ready and didn't have to be, thrown into the fire, because when he got thrown into the fire against Georgia, even though Quinn was playing bad, Arch didn't look any better. So I want to see, him play well, but hopefully, because I want my wife to be happy. Texas does play well this year. I do believe they'll be 10-2, 11-1. I think they're going to the playoffs. I think they're going to play well in the playoffs. That will go on a deep run. I don't know if I think they're going to win the Natty. I guess we'll talk about that a little later. But they're a very good football team. Georgia Bulldogs, number 1 overall for both of us. Both 11-1, tied for first for both of us. It all starts with the quarterback, Gunnar Stockton. If he plays well, this team the sky's the limit. They tried to add talent to their receiving core because they were awful last year, had a lot of drops, a lot of things that were just not good. Zachariah Branch from USC coming in, Noah Thomas from Texas A&M coming in. Starting over on the O-line, though, the only returning starter is Ernest Green III. Normally, I find that to be a really bad thing. As you know, with me, I think O-line, D-line are very important, but their defense is always so good. They just rinse, repeat every single year. And I think my biggest thing is I just believe in Kirby. I can't get behind. I can't give them more than 3 losses ever because Kirby Smart is just such a good coach.
Yeah.
They have only 4 or 5 losable games on their schedule. That's at Tennessee, because even though we're not that high in Tennessee, going to Tennessee is tough.
Yep.
Bama at home, Ole Miss at home, Florida at a neutral site, and then UT at home. All but 4 out of 5 of those games are at home. The only team that they have to go see is Tennessee. I think 2 of these games max in this group they will lose.
Yeah.
So I think this team is obviously the best. Their defense is highlighted by C.J. Allen, that linebacker. Some people think he is the next Roquan Smith. And then C.J. Miller on their defensive line. Those are just the guys that have played. Wait till they put more guys in the field, you know what I mean? And they have one of the best safeties in the game, who's a true sophomore. So it's just this team is talent. They have the best coach, possibly. They don't lose games that they're not supposed to lose.
Yep.
And I think Gunnar Stockton is better than, he only played 2 games. We're not giving him enough credit, how good he is coming in for Carson Beck, who was considered the number 1 overall pick at 1 or 2 points last year, especially before the season.
Yeah. You could have stopped with your explanation at Kirby Smart, and I would have been on board for 9 wins and called it good there. So, but that defense is going to be amazing. Gunnar Stockton, obviously the question mark, how is he going to do? But the other thing to remember is now this offense is built around him. He's not stepping into the Carson Beck offense anymore. He's stepping into the Georgia offense built for Gunnar Stockton and the receivers they have, Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch. And, like you said, their schedule is doing them a lot of favors as far as who they get to have at home, who they get to have on the road. The games they should win, whether it's at home or on the road, they get on the road. The ones that they really benefit from having at home, they get at home, aside from the Tennessee one. And truthfully, I think the Georgia defense will absolutely terrorize Joey Aguilar, and it won't matter. I think they'll win that one pretty easily. I'm not too worried for them on that one. I just don't see. You said 9 wins. I would go as far as I don't see them any way they lose more than 2 games this year.
Okay,
being enough. 2 of the 3 of Bama, Texas, and then Georgia Tech. I love Georgia Tech. Georgia is way better than them talent-wise, and there's no reason it should have been like it was last year, but that's just how rivalry games go. Yeah. But yeah, I've got obviously Georgia 11-1, the one loss being to Alabama.
Okay, and don't forget about Florida. Hey, we can't forget about Florida.
I said Florida. Georgia's... I said those are the 3 big ones: Florida, Bama, and Georgia Tech.
And UT.
Oh, and UT. Yeah, you're right. 4 games. That's right.
That's who you missed. Okay.
No, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that this team is just better than everybody on their schedule, and I think Gunnar Stockton, by the time they play anybody, will be ready to go.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be cruising.
Agreed.
But at the same time, I could be wrong. Gunnar Stockton might be a bust.
Yeah.
Carson Beck was considered a bust last year, and they still won 10 games. It does
Yeah.
not matter. Kirby Smart's going to win games. They're going to have probably 3 defensive players that are going to get drafted in the first 2 rounds, even though we don't know their names yet.
Yep.
That's just what happens. Defensive
That's
linemen are going to go. Linebackers, corners, Dalen Everett. Like they have guys, and so I'm
yeah.
not worried about them. I think they're going to continue winning. Kirby Smart's just does that. That's just what he
Yeah.
does. Um, my conference championship, my conference championship is going to be Texas versus Georgia. They had the same 7-1 record in conference. I'm going to be picking. I picked. I want to say I picked Texas to lose the first game. Yeah. So no, I had Texas beating Georgia in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to pick Georgia anyways to win the second time around. But I think that winning twice against the same team, we've talked about this before, is just so difficult. So Georgia wins. Your turn.
Respect. What's funny is we have the exact same situation, just with you insert Texas, me insert Alabama,
Right.
where they play each other again, and we both have Georgia losing the first matchup, but winning the second matchup.
Second.
Just because Kirby Smart's not going to lose to a team twice. That's what it comes down to. That guy's absolutely insane. Just such a good coach. He learns everything. It's like he's quite literally the definition of learn more from your losses than from your wins, or whatever homage or idiom you want to throw in there. He takes something from every single play, and he's consistently improved. Even when you think, oh, it's time for them to reload all their players, nope, he's fine. He just keeps on rolling. Even last year, when people were like, "This is a bad Georgia team," and they still make the playoff and dominate half their season.
Yeah, and then play well with a backup quarterback against Notre Dame and Texas.
Right.
In those last 2 games, like
Mm-hmm.
they lost to Notre Dame, but at the same time, they lost Carson Beck. They almost won that game. Like he didn't have the talent that Notre Dame probably had.
Right.
Especially the gamer mentality that you had with Riley Leonard on the other side.
Absolute gamer.
Yeah, absolute gamer. Actual gamer. Will never be a pro, most likely. Well, I mean, he's a pro, but I mean, will never be a starting quarterback, most likely, in the NFL. But, man, he is a college quarterback from hell.
I was about to say, I haven't seen one clip of him in training camp, but
Nope.
he's an absolute gamer in college.
But yeah, that's the breakdown for the SEC. It was a little longer, but everybody loves the SEC. We had to talk about it, of course.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. There's a lot of great teams in the SEC. We finished all the Power 4 conferences. We're going to hit the Power 5, talk about some of those teams that might make it as the last team into the playoffs in their Power 5 automatic bid before the Pac-12 comes back next year, I believe. So we'll do that next week. We're going to have our top 25 video. We've already started making the top 25. We're going to talk about some of those snubs, some of those teams that are going to win. We're going to talk about our conference championships as a group instead of individually this next time. All top 25 teams. We'll break down our playoffs, all of it. So it's coming up. Me and Cam are still doing all of our best ball stuff, so go check that out if you haven't seen that. And then a lot of stuff going on. We're almost to football season. Football is within 3 weeks, like real football.
Yep.
Like games. So we're almost there.
Yep. So remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you thought of our takes. If you loved them, hated them, if you think we way overrated or way underrated anybody, put all your thoughts in the comments, and we'll debate them, or we'll reply to them, or give further thoughts. Whatever the case may be.
Yep, absolutely. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us though, and we will see y'all on the next video.
Thank y'all very much.